Shalom. We are in Torah portion Vayetze. That means and he went. And the Hebrew letters of Vayetze is Vav, Yod, Tzadik, Aleph. Now there's something similar to a previous Torah portion, Vayera, and he appeared. And that is where Yahweh appeared to Abraham in the form of three men. Now what we discussed last time is the Vav and the Aleph. The Vav represents man and the Aleph represents Yahweh. And Yahweh is in the physical and man is in the spiritual. So that means that Yahweh met with Abraham in a, let's call it a hybrid space, where the physical and the spiritual overlapped. Or Abraham could see into the spiritual and Yahweh revealed himself in the physical. So it's all about the revelation in order to see. And we also found the word re'eh associated with that word vayera, that means to see, seer, which is a prophet, and also to have insight into spiritual things. Now, what we see here now, Vayetze, is Vav, Yod, Tzadik, Aleph. Now we have a man in the spiritual, Yahweh in the physical, and there is another encounter. And this time it is Jacob who has an encounter with Yahweh. The difference is that when with Vayera, the Yod was on the head, the Resh, which is the middle of the word Vayera, and that is the anointing that was given to Abraham. And this time the Yod is upon the Tzadik, the hand is upon the righteous, and Yahweh is taking it to the next level. Now we also looked last week at the word Ratzat, and that means to strive, to break into pieces. And that's the contention that was in the womb between Jacob and Esau. And the theme was the contention about the birthright. And the birthright is the covenant manifested in the context of a household. And the household was a result of the two women, Sarah and Rebecca, and where the singular Sarah become the collective Rebecca inside the large bed which is contained within Rebecca's name. So this is the creation of the household and the conversion of the covenant into a birthright context that is then translated through a household or a family of Yahweh from one generation to another to carry it out to all the families of the earth. Now, what we see in that word, Ratzat, is the double tzaddik, resh tzaddik tzaddik, or double righteousness that is a result of brokenness. Now, we see the hand of Yahweh on the first tzaddik, and that is the anointing of Abraham. He was declared righteous. And now there's a counter on the righteous, the one who's got the blessing of the birthright, made him righteous, and now he's going to have another encounter to start working on his second tzaddik, the fulfillment or the refinement of the person who is now going to manifest as and become a nation, which is Yisrael. We also see with the tzaddik, the double tzaddik, it also is prophetic of the double encounter that Jacob will have. Abraham had one encounter, Sarah had one encounter, and now we're going to see Jacob is going to have a double encounter, and he's going to receive a double tzaddik as a result of that. The first encounter we know is Jacob's ladder. The second encounter is the wrestling with Elohim, where Yahweh changed his walk, and he also changed his name to Yisrael. And from that point forward, the nation of Israel was created as the household then brought in different women from different nations and allow them into the household, and there's no more a separation that's taking place. Remember, in the time of Abraham, there was a single family. There was mixing taking place with the Egyptian women and Ishmael, and they were separated. Then Esau, he married other women, and there was a separation taking place, and Jacob was left. It is as if Yahweh kept the core of the household pure to sustain and maintain the birthright. And from that core, from that pure form, which is the starting point, is the tzaddik, the righteousness. Now you are ready to mix the nations in the household, or allowing the nations to come into the household without defiling that tzaddik, because that tzaddik has got a double anointing. It's stronger. It cannot be defiled. And that is why Yahweh converted Jacob into the house of Israel, and then allowed Leah and the two maidservants into the household. And then the tribes of Israel is the result of the nations together with the original family coming together as one and become one nation. We see the same context when Moses led Israel out of Egypt. There was a mixed multitude of multiple nations who joined Israel and became part of Israel. But because the core was pure, the tzaddik, which was in this case Moshe, that couldn't be defiled. And Yahweh was able to bring in the nations into the household, as he promised to Abraham. So we've got the blessings of the stars, which is this double righteousness. And we've got the blessing of the sand, which is the nations coming in through Leah, Bilhah, I forgot the other one's name. And then later on, more nations coming in. So that is just setting the stage to safeguard the core, the anointed ones, the ones with the priestly role, and keep them set apart and pure. And now we see the function of holiness. Holiness is not for salvation. Holiness is for the preservation of the core function of the birthright, which is the priestly function, to be undefiled, still working, still being set apart, but allowing people that are not holy to become holy. We also saw that with Yeshua. He mixed with sinners. He went to where they were, and then he brought the function of the nations coming in, because he fulfilled the function of the birthright, the function of the priesthood, or the priestly function, and let the nations come in. We see the same symbolism with the woman at the well, where she was not part of the original Israel. She could come in. And then later on, through Paul, we see that he ministered to all the nations, all the Gentiles, and then they could come in. But Paul was the one that is now with the double tzaddik, the double anointing in Ratzatz, and Paul has to be broken in order to become that. So I'll just leave you with those words as a starting point into this parasha, just to give us context of why there is a double anointing, in context of the priestly function, in context of the household, in context of the birthright, and the multiplication of the nations, which is the prophecy about the sand of the sea and the nations coming in, so that all the families of the earth can be blessed. Shalom.